Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing the long-awaited story about my growing up and yeah, from what I can remember of my growing up to adulthood and filling the gaps by what I've been told by my parents or family members, etc. So basically, today I thought instead of coming to you guys just sitting down and just talking completely, it's early hours in the morning, I just had my bath and I'm a bit dry, so I'm gonna kind of like cream my face and kind of like do a bit of makeup. There's some makeup that I recently purchased, not much, it's basically foundation I recently purchased, and I kind of wanted to see how it looks. Yeah. So basically my foundation has always been MAC. It's run out to nothing, so I had to kind of like, it's been looking to run out for a long time, so now it's like completely dry, and didn't want to spend that much money on makeup, so I decided to try something different and a bit more low in price. So I bought the NYX foundation, and that's in caramel. Very little money because I had a £10 gift voucher for Christmas. I got from Christmas, and I decided to spend it, and it was able to purchase me more than 2 things of, I think, in boots. So the foundation is one of that. So basically that's the foundation. I'm going to pop some cream on myself because I'm aware that I'm quite dry. This is the Neutrogena. I'm just going to show you these couple of things, guys, while I'm talking. Cream. I use the same kind of product. It's like oil-free moisturizer, visibly clear, spot-proof. And I use the same thing on a daily, not all the time, guys, if I'm being really honest, for scrub, like to wash my face. The scrub was introduced to me by one of my nieces, and it works really well. I was also introduced a toner from her that, you know, sometimes I don't like to try new things. I think it kind of ruined my face a bit, but that's the toner. But the scrubber has been amazing. So guys, yeah, basically what I can remember from like growing up, like starting from my childhood, I'm more like a Cinderella person, I would say. Like in my family, I think that's the gap I feel. I'm the middle child of the youngest set of 3, basically. So my mom, I can only speak from my mom's side because the father side is a bit iffy in terms of like, we mostly know about stepdads, guys. So anyway, oh, this smells nice. Cream on my hand because it's really dry. And like I said, it's early hours, everybody's sleeping, and I don't want to be moving around more than I have to, so I'm doing the bare minimum of moving about. When I say the Cinderella type, is like, I'm very like, from ever since I can remember, always been very domesticated. Like, remember when I was a little girl, in the family, it was mostly me and my younger sister that does most of the cleaning. My older sister, she was more academical, so if you ask me, lazy. Sorry if you're out there watching this, you know who you are at the time, you know. But to give her credit in her own rights, she was very much academic. She did go to good school, which she had to sit an exam to get into, so, you know, can't take away that at all from her. So she was more like into her book and get away with very much little of the cleaning. And you know, like, for those who don't know, I was born in Jamaica, and that's where I had like my first at least 15 years of my life in Jamaica. I'm now like 43, if I'm remembering correctly, yeah. Yeah, so like, well, sometimes I might be jumping my age. Anyway, I won't give up my date of birth, but it's 42, 43 around there. I can't remember my own age. It's not something we dwell on in this family. But anyhow, so it's the first time trying this product. Oh, I needed to shake. It came out a bit oily. And my brush ain't clean. I'm not a makeup artist, people. Yeah, so it was just me and my younger sister. I remember mostly because, you know, I remember having an older sister there, but her job was to make sure the house is clean. Apart from the 3 that I mentioned, because my mom, on the mom's side, like I said, I'm hoping I said it, she have 8 kids. So we had an older one that we have to answer to, plus the 3 younger ones. And I've got other older sisters and brothers. I've got 3 brothers, 5 sisters, 5 girls, including myself. Yeah. So our job, oh gosh, was to make sure the place is tidy and clean, and like we go to school in the week, but sometimes in the morning, depending on what shift, because in Jamaica we used to do morning, they used to have morning shift and evening shift, just to make sure that everybody get educated. That's most of like the primary and secondary used to have a morning shift and the evening shift. Some 1 and 2 didn't. Guys, if you're out there, you know what I mean. Always feel free to kind of leave a little comment, a little one-liner. You know. I look like I don't know what I'm doing. First time I'm using the foundation. It looked a bit more good when I test it on my skin. It still looks alright still, but this is not my normal foundation brush, so it's making me struggle. So we used to go to school in the week, and if we're on a morning shift, we might get away with not doing much in the morning before we go, but I'm sure we had to do at least 1 or 2 things before we go to school, and then quickly have our shower and go off to school. And I was thinking, I know guys, I'm like this. If I'm telling a story, instead of going on about the story itself, I'll break and tell you other stories to link with my life, which always kind of got me off track. I can't remember where I stopped from. I noticed by watching back the videos. So yeah, I do apologize if it's ticking some people off. But yeah, this one I thought to myself when I was having my bath, these kids don't know how to bath themselves, you know. These old, what would you call it, westernized kids, they do not know how to bath themselves, because like when we were bathing, we didn't have any struggles to say, oh, this is not going to be our true color, because we used to scrub ourselves clean. And I know you guys out there know, but these kids, they just sit in the bath and then want to get up. So I'm always at my lot to scrub themselves, you know, and telling them what area to start scrubbing. Mind you, they start bathing themselves quite late. I don't think I'm going to do the same thing with, because I used to bath them till very late. But I'm not going to do the same thing with Angelo, because even now, when you put Angelo in the bath, he tends to want to try and wash himself a bit, which I think is very good. But with the others, I kind of was taking all of that role on. Yeah, well, that's jumping over. So our parents didn't have that problem, and they never had time to have that problem, I don't think, to be fair. So we had to muddle on through and get on with our baths, nobody be there fixing us breakfast. We had to fix our own breakfast, have our bath, get dressed, and go off to school. Don't question ask. Whether we have other people in the house or we're by ourselves, that's the routine. You get up in the morning, you probably do a little prayer, and then go brush your teeth, have your bath, do a bit of breakfast. Bear in mind, if, like I said, if you've got 1 and 2 chores that you have to quickly do before you go off to school, you have to get that done. So that's basically the gist of what I can remember of my life. And then on a Saturday, on a weekend now, on a Saturday, we do like the weekly washing. I'm always the head matriarch on that shift as well, in terms of like, yeah, my mom would be setting out the washing and doing most of it, because them days it's no washing machine business, it was by hand. And now I have to be there to back the second portion, like she wash out the most of the dirt and I have to be there and washing the rest and then rinsing it. And then as I said, my other little sister, you know, most of the time she's there. The workload was on me and her most of the time, to be fair, but she'll joke it out as well. So, like I said, I very much played the Cinderella role throughout my life, all the way, as long as I can remember. That's my role, making sure that the cleaning, so I've been cleaning for years and years and years. If I do no more cleaning in my life, I think no one should complain about that. So basically that's what the foundation look like. It's not my foundation. That's why, like I said, my role is a Cinderella role. And you know, obviously you guys out there that know the Cinderella story, she ended up having the most glamorous life. When I say the Cinderella role, I more do the rough stuff, but then when it comes to like getting dressed and going out, I'll want the best. Some would say look the best. I just look how I want to look, but you know, some would beg to differ, because they, you know, and in that sense, nobody could quite place me in terms of like, because of the two different side of who I am, you know. So I think people find it quite tricky to place me, because some would like to keep me over the Cinderella pile, and I'm like, excuse me, no. Today, I'm at the princess side, darling. Deal with it. Sort of thing. But yeah. Anywho, guys, yeah, so, you know, I remember, like, my mom, just to put this in there, because it's something that I kept with me since I got older. My mom, you know, tell me, not older, but, you know, it's a story she brings up every now and again, telling me, like, when she brought me home from the hospital as a new baby. I think it's like in the country, like in them days. I'll give you a description of, like, because we used to move a lot. I remember like 3 distinctive bases of where we used to live. But we used to move a lot. When I tell you, when she come and say, pack your bags, you better pack your bags. You getting left behind. You getting left behind. Pack your bags. Anyhow, telling a little story that she's filled me in on. Like when I was born and she took me up to the country where my grandparents lived. And she was walking home, like taking the baby home to her mom, basically. Everybody was coming up to me, poking me, saying, you know, is she real? Because apparently I was so pretty. Yeah, people thought I was a doll. Yeah. And I can remember distinctively, like when she made her descriptions, 2 things I remember. Like all of my kids, and I hope none of them take offense to this, but it's just the truth of the matter. Like, out of the 4 children I have and everything, like my first child, I was so grateful for that child. That's my eldest. Reason, hopefully I feel that gap in maybe later on in this story or later on in the other story time. But yeah, I was very grateful for that child. So, you know, it was well within my soul how he came, and he was blessed. And I remember praying for him and like feeling like God blessed me with him. So he come with a lot of pressure on his head. I remember one time like saying to God, oh, if you just bless me with this child, I'll give him to you. Like give him over to God, like let him grow up in that manner and stuff. So he's got a heavy, you know, weight on his shoulder, which it's hard for him to understand now why I'm so hard on him, but you know. So that's the eldest child. The child that I can remember thinking fits the description of what my mom described to me was my middle boy that I done the Spicy Wing challenge with. Yeah, because when he came, he was like pretty. I mean, at the time I didn't like, I remember his colour was just rich. When I tell you rich, real rich. Rich. I remember that distinctively. And I remember even when I put him like in orange clothes and stuff like that, he just oozes that, you know, richness and that shine. Like when you're talking about gold or preciousness, diamonds, and he just had that richness about him. So he kind of reminds me of the description that my mom told me that how I looked. My other child, you know, some people was saying that, oh, she came out and they wasn't as keen, but you know, I see her beauty from day one, which I tried to cover up. As she's getting older, you can see that coming through more and more. But I always, you know, everybody thought when I have a girl, she's going to be out there, and I always kind of try to dim down her little glow for reasons some might understand, but I always kind of keep her a little bit more shaded. But I see her beauty. And obviously, you know, my last son, Angelo, when he was born, his dad would say that he looks like his face was all wrinkled up and all of these things, but I was like so happy, so pleased, and so overwhelmed, and thought, you know, wow, this is the child that was giving me all that hell, but it was worth it, because I had a rough pregnancy with all of them, but really rough one with Angelo. But everybody thought I was pregnant with triplets. My belly was that big and hanging down, and obviously, you know, the pregnancy was I wasn't young in age. I was 41 and pregnant, as the Shane likes to remind me, and used to go around telling everyone in the street that we live. My mom's 41 and pregnant. My mom's 41 and pregnant. So yeah. So because I was of an older age, and then, you know, I've been pregnant 6 times in my life, guys, 6 times, and you know, that's a story that I'll explain and tell. So I'm standing with 4 kids, but I've been pregnant 6 times in my life. So yeah, that's kind of like the gist of my background in terms of how I was seeing what the gap I filled with my family was to be, I would say, the second in command in my mom's ship. In you know, there was other people that not taking away from my other siblings that feel different criterias, but where I see myself and where I fell was there, you know, having her back. It's a bit like my daughter. My God, she's a little, what do you call it? Like you know, they have this description, I can't really remember it specifically. Like when you're building a house, that stone, they have that, like a small stone. If anybody knows what I'm banging on about, do tell. But without that stone, that house can't hold up. I think that's probably me. Like this is like one of the most vital part of the whole puzzle, basically. And that's my daughter Tilly Rose as well. Like, you know, she have me like that sometimes, in terms of like when you can't do and you ask her and she's doing. I mean, now she kind of like, she have her season, but when her season is good, oh my gosh, is it good? And sometimes I have to kind of be conscious myself, thinking, you know, I don't want to put as much pressures as I was getting in my life on her, and then, you know, I'll push my other son to step up, which he does, bless him, you know, he does. So yeah, like I feel like I was like that person that if my mom was feeling the weight of, and it's mostly, to be fair, domesticated. Financial wise, sometimes when I was growing up, in terms of like when I start having jobs 16, 17, I was a joker. As soon as they start pissing me off, I don't even tell them when I'm going. Like, you know, this is why sometimes I don't like to put my life out there. You try to shield it from your kids and of who you are, but you know, it's the reality of things. I start understanding that no matter what you do, your kid's gonna be doing what they're doing, and you have disappointment. So might as well share your story and share your life, and let them watch if they want to watch, and hopefully learn from it. And you know, my thing is trying to not make them make the same mistake as me, but you find no matter how you try and protect them and shield them, they'll make their own mistake as well, and you just have to try your best to cope with how things are and what life, you know, throw at you, in terms of making sure that you yourself as a person can just really just try your best. I mean, in them days I used to feel like I was trying my best and doing my best in certain things, but I was also aware that academically I was just didn't know the importance at the time of the whole studying thing, and trying to make sure that I tried to, it just didn't make sense. I don't know if you know, it just didn't make sense. And sometimes my eldest, sometimes he tried to explain that to me, even though, you know, on average you'd say that he's great academically, but there's certain things that don't make sense. It didn't make sense to me at the time, like what I was taught. Certain things just didn't click in. And then as I get older, certain things click, but it was mostly because I've got a catering background and a caring background, and those things mostly click. And what would you call it? Customer service background, you know? So those things makes more sense to me. And it's funny, like when it comes to like money calculations, I don't slip up on those things. But like if you ask me like algebra or some kind of all sort of different mathematics, I remember when they're talking about ratio and stuff like that, it was like my first, like my first set of kids, it was their dad that had to explain what ratio is, and little things that I pick up as I get older, and it makes sense more to me now if I've been sat down and whoever's telling me have that niche to explain it to me to get it. I will get it now, but them days it just never made, like if the truth be known, it just didn't the penny never dropped. I'm gonna put another setting of this thing because it's not very good on the coverage. She always does her best in her way by her children, in that sense. You know, it might not be our idea of the best, but I wouldn't be chastising her for how she grew her children, to be fair. You know, my mom is very much like, I'll think like my nanny's very prejudiced, and his prejudice is not prejudice like, you know, who got the lighter skin way. It's more prejudice in whoever she takes to. She takes to you, you could get away with anything. But if she don't take to you, she won't do that extra mile with you. And if you're sinking, likelihood she might just help to tip you over there. Sorry, mother, but it's the truth. It's not even funny, but it's the truth. Yeah. So, but my life is like, my mom had it, like if she have the money, you get. If she don't have it, we know. It's just like, I don't know. It's never been, because we're not the type of background where our parents sit down explaining X, Y, Z to us like I have to be doing with my kids on several occasions, like to get them to understand where I'm coming from. And sometimes some of them still don't understand where I'm coming from. But my mother never had no time to be explaining nothing to us. We just seemed to get it. Like when she had it, we had it. When she don't have it, we don't have it. We don't complain. We don't, you know, go out, start shouting from the rooftop, oh, my mother ain't got it. We weren't like that. We just understand because we know when she had it. We all know when she ain't got it. She ain't got it. But these kids, when you got it, they'll take it all then. And when it's run out, they still be crying, screaming from the rooftop. Ah, she ain't fed me, she ain't fed me, sort of thing. And like, for our background, that's hard to take. You kind of have to be trying to balance out things like, stuff like that. But, you know, I get ticked off where I was like so ticked off and overwhelmed is as an adult, my kids is my thing, you know, they're the ones I put my all in, you know, based on the story when I said to you, I've been pregnant 6 times and, you know, that's the story for come to come. But when I get my kids, I put my all in them. And I had my kids late. My eldest boy, I have him at 28. You know, the other 2, that there's a question mark beside. I'll tell you those story. They were younger in age, but obviously they're not here to be counted for. So that's a story I'd have to tell you another time. But when the ones I have, when I got them, you know, I do my best by them. 3 of them, my first 3 sets, there's no dad around to show for. And yeah, I very much know that I'm not excused from the blame, but I stuck around and make sure they get by. I stuck around, so that's the way I look at that. However difficult I was, because I can only assume that's part of the excuse. Yeah, however difficult I was to get along with, or whatever the case may be, I made sure I was present in their life, you know. I have trouble where I'm blamed for now with saying that I need to grow up. Who knows what my struggle is in terms of when they're saying I need to grow up, in what form, I don't know.